Hello friends, today we are going to discuss international relations, their nature and scope. As you all know, that Earth is consisting of 7 continents, 5 oceans, and each continent has so many countries. In the United Nations itself, there are 193 member countries and 2 countries are observation states. They are called as observers. So total 195 countries are there in the world. There are 6 continents: Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, South America, Australia. And besides this, there is one more continent without any human inhabitation. That's called Antarctica. So in total, there are 7 continents. And likewise, there are 5 important oceans: the Pacific Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean, the Antarctic Ocean, the South Atlantic and North Atlantic Ocean. So the whole Earth is divided into various geographical units. They are called as the continents. And these oceans separate the continents. And again, these continents having so many countries within themselves. For example, in Asia, there are so many countries. In Africa, there are so many countries. In North America, there are so many countries. In South American continent, there are so many countries. In European continent, there are so many countries. In Australia, there are countries. So each continent has its own countries. In total, there are again 193 countries in the world. There are 195 countries, 193 formal members of United Nations, and 2 countries have the status of an observer in the United Nations. So these 195 countries have relations among themselves. The study of relations among the states, among the nations on the earth of different continents is called as international relations. International relations are the relations among the nations, cultures, people, institutions, groups, organizations, and personalities, which denote international relations. The relations among the nations, as we were discussing about the 193 countries and 2 observer states, they are called as nations. In fact, in modern times, we call the states as nation states. So every country has its own nationality, and people have the sense of oneness and sense of belonging to their patriotic nation, the geographical entity. Each country has its own geographical boundaries. So people living within those boundaries have patriotism. That patriotism and that sense of belonging is called as nation and nationality. People with political aspirations, people with a strong political system, organized themselves on the basis of the oneness, a psychological oneness, is called as a nation. So all the modern states are called as nation states. And each state has its own culture. People have different cultures. Some countries are monocultural countries. And some countries are diversified countries, cultures. For example, America is a symbol of a melting pot. That's also called as a country with diverse cultures. And likewise, India is also another country where for every 100 kilometers, you find one culture or the other. So cultural changes are there. Culture denotes the habits, the living patterns, the livelihood patterns, the garmentary habits, the food habits, the value system. On the whole, this is called as a culture. So culture itself is an entity that's very powerful in the relations among the countries. So relations among the nations, cultures, people, institutions, groups, organizations, and personalities that denote the international relations. So international relations is a very wide and vast subject that deals with the relations among nations, relations among cultures, relations among people, relations among the political institutions and economic institutions and various other institutions, relations among groups, different groups of the world, relations among various organizations, and relations among different personalities. So these relations denote the international relations. In fact, relations among nations were as old as human history itself. When the human history started, even human relations are also started. Likewise, the relations among the civilizations, the relations among the nations are also started. So relations among nations were as old as human history itself. And during ancient times, there are relations among civilizations and kingdoms. In the ancient period, there are civilizations like Indus Valley civilization, Egyptian civilization, Akkadian civilization, Sumerian civilization, Greek civilization, Chinese civilization, Aztec civilization. So these are various civilizations that flourished during the ancient period. So there were also inter-civilizational dialogue, inter-civilizational relations, inter-civilizational trade and commerce, but very much vogue during ancient times. So international relations is not a new one. This phenomena is seen as back as the ancient times when countries have their own civilizations in the world, in different parts of the world. And during ancient and medieval times, the relations were confined to trade, commerce, security, war, and peace. In fact, during ancient times, as human history is divided into three phases: the ancient history, medieval history, and modern history. Till 6th century AD, it's called as the ancient times. From 7th century to 13th century, we call it as medieval times. From 14th century to the present day, we call it as modern history. So during ancient and medieval times, the relations among the nations are confined to mutual trade, commerce, security, war, and peace. However, in the modern times, the relations have changed. The nature of relations have changed. And today, we see there is a lot of dynamism in the relations. In international relations, there is a lot of dynamism. So, which is pertaining to the relations related to security, relations related to armaments, relations related to interstate dialogue, relations that are related to various groups and their relations. So this is how modern times have changed the nature of international relations with its dynamic nature. As the technology has grown in modern times, and even transport systems are also very dynamically changed. The technology and rapid development in rapid strides in transport sector have also changed the nature of international relations. And this, the technology, communication, transport, and technology has facilitated Indians, facilitated the world, people world war, to have relations with other people with other countries also as well. So this is how relations in modern times are very dynamic in nature, are very expanded by nature. So this is how international relations in modern times have got a new phase of dynamic nature. An academic discipline, international relations is a subject with interdisciplinary nature. As we have different subjects in physical sciences, biological sciences, social sciences, and arts, international relations is emerging as a separate discipline like history, political science, economics, public administration, management, mathematics, statistics, physics, chemistry, biology, microbiology, biotechnology, chemistry. So these are all the academic disciplines. Likewise, international relations is also becoming a subject matter by itself. It has become an academic discipline by itself. But it has an interdisciplinary nature. It is not just concerned with political science, Nor it's concerned with only a particular subject as such. So in international relations, we see some of the aspects of economics, some of the aspects of history, some of the facts and figures related to sociology, some of the concepts related to psychology. So this is how international relations has acquired a new status of interdisciplinary nature. So this is all about international relations. And today's lesson will be discussing about international relations and meaning, international relations nature, international relations definitions, international relations scope of international relations, and importance of international relations. After that, we'll have a discussion on critical evaluation of international relations. So international relations means relations among states, relations among nations, relations among cultures, relations among the civilizations, relations among the organizations and groups, and relations among the leaders and personalities. So the relations across the continents, across the countries of the world, that is called as international relations. And every individual and every state has its own interests. The interests of the state are called as national interests, and the interests of the individual are called as individual interests. So international relations are guided by the national interests and individual interests of the particular units. In today's class, we'll be discussing about international relations and its meanings. There are two important aspects to understand international relations. One is the narrow sense of understanding, and the other one is the broad sense of understanding. In the narrow sense of understanding, international relations can be understood as relations among nations, relations among governments, relations among the states. So they are very official, they are very formal. The formal relations between one country and the other country, they are called as the relations among the nations, they are international relations. This is a very narrower sense of understanding international relations. However, we can also see a broad sense of understanding of international relations, in which international relations is understood as relations among the nations, relations among the cultures, relations among the people, relations among the institutions, relations among the groups, relations among the states and governments, relations among the organizations and personalities of various nation states. So this is how it encompasses the relations among the nations, cultures, people, institutions, groups, states and governments, organizations and personalities within every nation states with other countries, other states, other nation states. This is called as international relations. So in international relations, there are two types of understanding the nature of international relations. One is the narrower sense of understanding, the other one is the broader sense of understanding. In the narrow sense of understanding, we can see international relations as formal relations between the governments, the formal relations between two governments or many governments. For example, the relations between India and China, the relations between India and Pakistan, the relations between India and Nepal, India and Sri Lanka, India and America, India and Russia. So this is how the relations between the states, between the nation states at the level of a government, at the level of state is called as international relations at a narrow sense. But in a broader sense, international relations denote the relations among the states, the relations among cultures, people, institutions, groups, states and governments, organizations and personalities of various nation states. So this is how international relations can be understood at a very two important senses, narrower sense and broader sense. And in the nature of international relations, there are two important aspects. One is cooperative relations and the other one is conflict relations. What is cooperative relations? The relations between the countries for cooperation, mutual cooperation and development aimed at human progress is called as cooperative relations. For example, the relations between India and Russia is cooperative relations. In fact, the 1971 Indo-Soviet Friendship Treaty signed by the Indian Prime Minister Srimati Indira Gandhi and the Russian President Leonid Brezhnev. So this treaty is called as cooperative relations between India and Russia. Likewise, Indo-American Nuclear Treaty signed by Barack Obama and Manmohan Singh. So this is called Indo-American, the nuclear treaty. So this is how, when we speak of the cooperative relations between the states that protect the national interests of the countries, and these relations are mostly maintained by the nation states at the level of government. So intergovernmental contracts, intergovernmental negotiations, intergovernmental conversations, that will lead to cooperative relations. So this is one aspect of nature of international relations. So we generally read about cooperative relations on the one hand, and the other we also read about the conflict relations. The relations among the countries are all not always friendly. Sometimes negative relations also may occur. These relations are called conflict relations. Particularly when the national interests are at danger or at stake, and each nation state wants to protect its own national interests at any cost. So in such a case, it differs with the opinions of other states, and it may involve itself in a very conflict relation with other countries. Take for example, in India-China relations, we have the Galwan Valley problem and the line of actual control, the border disputes. These are becoming the conflict relations between India and China. Likewise, for the last 7 decades, we have been fighting with Pakistan over sovereign rights on Jammu and Kashmir. So this is kind of conflict relations between India and Pakistan. So relations among the states need not always be friendly, need not always be cooperative. At times, these relations also may change themselves into conflict relations. For example, there is a war between Britain and Argentina over Falkland Islands during early 80s. So that means for small islands, 2 mighty countries were fighting with each other. Britain, a powerful nation in the European continent, and Argentina is again a powerful nation in the South American continent. So these 2 countries were fighting for Falkland Islands during early 1980s. So this is an indication of conflict relations. So relations need not be cooperative relations or friendly relations always. Sometimes and at times, the nature of relations may also change from cooperative relations to conflict relations. So wherever the conflict relations exist, each nation state wants to protect its own national interests. So that could be the reason for the conflict. So this is how the nature of international relations can be understood among the nations. Number 1 as cooperative relations, number 2 as the conflict relations. Both cooperative relations and conflict relations are to be studied in international relations among the states. So that's why nature of international relations includes the cooperative relations and conflict relations among the nation states. Now let us see the history of international relations. History of international relations goes back to the ancient times, as we were telling you in the beginning. It has started during ancient civilizational dialogues between Egyptian civilization and Indus Valley civilization. Indus Valley civilization and Chinese civilization. Indus Valley civilization and Sumerian civilization, Akkadian civilization. The Egyptian civilization and Akkadian civilization. The Aztec civilization and other civilizations. So this is how the inter-civilizational dialogue was there during ancient times, and that preceded, in fact, there is a mobility of individuals from one continent to other continent. And after that, the relations are not just confined to civilizations, they have also entered into a new phase of having relations among the kings and kingdoms, and as a part of it, new merchants, uh, traders, uh, people who are involved in commercial activities are also encouraged. So history of international relations goes back to the ancient times. And the study of international relations is a modern phenomenon. In fact, the study of international relations as an academic discipline is only started in the first decades of 20th century. So history of relations, international relations, may be having its own time immemorial. It might have started some decades back or centuries back or millenniums back. But the study of international relations started only just 1 century back, and during the 20th century, the first half of 20th century, or first 2 decades of 20th century, were the genesis for the study of international relations and for growth of international relations as an academic discipline. And there are some definitions given by various political thinkers on international. In fact, the word international relations was first used by an English philosopher, Jeremy Bentham. Jeremy Bentham belongs to 18th century. He's a utilitarian philosopher who led the school of utilitarianism. And he was the first philosopher to use the word international relations. Jeremy Bentham of England is an English philosopher. So Jeremy Bentham of England was the first philosopher to use the word international relations. And there are certain definitions given by some academics. According to Quincy Wright, international politics is the art of influencing, manipulating, or controlling major groups so as to advance the purposes of some against the opposition of others. So this is how he has given a definition to international politics. And that study of international politics is international relations. So what is international politics and what is international relations? Here we can see international politics is an art of influencing, manipulating, and controlling major groups so as to advance the purpose of some against the opposition of others. So the purpose of some states are to protect their national interests, and this is opposed by others. So there is always a struggle between protection of national interests by the respective national states and the people who oppose that. So there is always some people who want to protect their national interests against the opposition of others. So international relations is basically the art of influencing, manipulating, or controlling major groups on the earth so as to advance the purposes of some against the opposition of others. And the study of international politics is called as international relations. This definition is given by Quincy Wright, and the second definition is given by Hans Morgenthau. Hans Morgenthau is a great academician, belonging to the American continent, and he has defined international relations in terms of power. He says that international politics is a struggle for and use of power among nations. He has written a great book called Politics Among Nations. In the Politics Among Nations, he has defined international politics as a struggle for and use of power among the nations. Struggle for power and use of power among the nations. So that is called as international relations. And the study of international relations is called as, the study of international politics is called as international relations. So this is the definition given by Hans Morgenthau. Here we see the difference between Quincy Wright's definition and Hans Morgenthau's definition. Quincy Wright definition focuses on the art of influencing, manipulating, and controlling major groups. And some people, some countries, some nation state who wants to protect their national interests against the opposition of others. So this is the focus of Quincy Wright. But as against this, Hans Morgenthau believes that international politics is a struggle for power and use of power among the nations. So every country wants to be powerful, and every country wants to expose its power, exhibit its power, acquire its power, and aim to become a superpower. So this is how there is always a struggle among the nations to become powerful. So international politics is a struggle for power and the use of power among the nations. So the study of international politics as a struggle for power and use of power among nations is called as international relations. So here he has clearly defined what is international politics. International politics is a struggle for power and its use of power among the nations. And the study of this international politics is called as international relations. This definition is given by Hans Margantho. And an Indian scholar, Mahendra Kumar, has given a new definition to international relations. According to Mahendra Kumar, international politics is a process in which nations strive to serve their national interests, which may be in conflict with those of other nations by means of their policies and actions. So every country needs to have a policy. What is that policy? That policy is called as foreign policy. So every country formulates the foreign policy. Accordingly, every country maintains friendly relations with some nations, neutral relations with some other countries, negative relations with some other countries. So it chooses to maintain the nature of relations. May it be friendly relations, or may it be animosity relations, may it be neutral relations, by means of a foreign policy. So foreign policy gives the guidelines for maintaining international politics, international relations. So every country has its own foreign policy. Accordingly, it takes action. So the policies and actions of some nations may be in conflict with other nations. So every country tries to maintain its national interests. So every international politics is a process in which nations try to serve their national interests, which may be in conflict with those of other nations by means of their policies and action. This is the definition given by Mahendra Kumar. Mahendra Kumar here emphasizes on the foreign policy of a nation that guides the nation states to have different types of relations with different nations. With some countries, friendly relations. With some countries, cooperative relations. With some other countries, the negative relations are animosity relations. And with some other countries, neutral relations. So, in course of protecting its own national interests, every country formulates its national policies, foreign policies. That foreign policy defines the nature of relations between the respective country with other countries. So these policies are called as foreign policies, and they also define the action to be taken in maintaining different types of relations. So according to Mahendra Kumar, international politics is a process in which nations try to serve their national interests, which may be in conflict with those of other nations by means of their policies and actions. After that, two important philosophers, Stanley Hoffman and Adi H. Doctor. Stanley Hoffman and Adi Doctor has given a new definition to international relations. They say the discipline of international relations is concerned with the factors and activities which affect the external policies and the power of basic units in which the world is divided. There are certain basic units, and these units constitute different units constitute the world. So the whole world is divided into basic units. These basic units are called as nation states. So these nation states have external policies. External policies means foreign policies. And these units try to maintain their power, increase their power, acquire their power, and become superpower. And they aim to become superpower. So the study of international relations, the discipline international relations is concerned with the factors and activities which affect the external policies and power of the basic units into which the world is divided. So this is the definition given by Stanley Hoffman and Adi H. Doctor. And two famous philosophers, Palmer and Perkins. These are the two important philosophers or political scientists who have given definition. According to Palmer and Perkins, international relations encompass much more than the relations among nation states and international organizations and groups. It includes a great variety of transitional relationships at various levels, above and below the level of nation state, still the main actor in the international community. So there are three levels: at the level of nation state, below the level of nation states, above the level of nation states. So at the level of nation states, below the level of nation states, and above the level of nation states. So at all the three levels of action, nation state, every nation wants to have relations with other countries. So the nation states, the relations among the nation states, the relations among the international organizations and groups, and also there are three levels of relations: nation state level, below the nation state level, and above the nation state level. Every nation tries to have relationship that's called as transitional relationships. So the relationships among the nations at three levels: at the level of nation state, above the level of nation states, and below the level of nation states, encompass the relations among the nations that's called as international relations, according to Palmer and Perkins. Now let us see the scope of international relations based on these important definitions. The scope of international relations is a very wider scope, as I have told you in the beginning itself, that international relations is a very interdisciplinary subject, which have relations with history, economics, political science, public administration, psychology, statistics, mathematics, and various other sciences. So the scope of international relations includes, it studies first about the state system. State, what is state? What are the elements of state? What is sovereignty? What are nation states? And what are the characteristic features of nation state? And how the nation state system has evolved in the modern times. There are four important treaties that help the evolution of nation state system in the modern world: the Westphalia Treaty of 1648, the Utrecht Treaty of 1713, the Vienna Conference Agreement of 1815, and the Versailles Treaty of 1919. So these are the four important treaties that have helped the evolution of the state system into the sovereign nation state system. So in international relations, we'll also study as a first and foremost point, the evolution of state system and evolution of nation state system, the growth of nation state system. And secondly, we'll also study about the relations in conflict and cooperation among the nations. So the relations of conflict and the relations of cooperation among the nations. Every country may have its own cooperative relations with other countries and also in conflict relations with other countries. For example, India and China having the conflict relations on the line of actual control, border problem, and likewise India and Pakistan also have the problem of borders. We share the common border called Jammu and Kashmir. So Jammu and Kashmir has become a problematic area between India and Pakistan. Whenever India wants to restore peace in Jammu and Kashmir, our neighboring country Pakistan brings transnational terrorist activities. So a state-sponsored terrorism is also going on. So these are leading to the conflict relations. So the relations among the states need not always be friendly or cooperative. Sometimes at times it may lead to conflict relations also. But India maintains for its part good relations with so many countries. India with China in the early decades of independence have brought in the Panchsheel Agreement. The Panchsheel Agreement is a 5-principle agreement between Jawaharlal Nehru and Chou En-lai. So this agreement was signed between India and China in 1954. Likewise, there is an agreement between India and Pakistan that's called Simla Agreement. And likewise, there is an agreement between India and Sri Lanka, India and Nepal, India and Bhutan, India and America, India and Russia. So there are various international agreements. So these agreements denote the cooperative relations or friendly relations between the states. And there are also at times the conflict relations, particularly in matters of trade and commerce, in matters of maintaining borders, the conflict comes. So, for example, China has conflict with so many countries, with Indonesia, with Russia, with Japan, with India, with Bhutan. So with so many countries, neighboring countries, China has border problems. So the relations between the countries need not always be friendly. At times they may also become the conflict relations. In international relations, we study about different international conflicts and different international cooperative relations among the nations. And thirdly, we study the general history and diplomatic history. The general history and diplomatic history. General history means the history related to international relations among the nations, and the diplomatic history. What is diplomacy? Diplomacy means a means to find peaceful solutions for a crisis-ridden situation. So problem solving with peaceful means through negotiations, through discussions, through debates is called as diplomacy. So diplomacy is a new means through which so many international conflicts are resolved. There are two means through which any international relations, any international conflict can be addressed. One is the violent means, or war or external aggression. The second one is using diplomacy and diplomatic means, channels. So diplomacy denotes a peaceful resolution of conflicts. So diplomacy has a long history. So diplomacy has prevented so many wars in the history. So in international relations, we study about the diplomatic history. And fourthly, in international relations, we study about power. As Hans Marganto has given us the definition of international relations as a study of international politics for struggle for power and for use of power among the nations. So here we study about power and how a nation becomes a powerful nation and its national power is enhanced. The national power of any nation can be enhanced through its economic means, economic vibrancy, the social cohesion, the psychological factors like patriotism among the people, sense of oneness, sense of belonging, and also cultural diversities, toleration for religion. So these are all some of the factors that qualify a nation to become a national power and claim itself the role of a superpower. So India is claiming itself as a superpower, at least in the Asian region. So it's a regional superpower. And many countries consider India as a global superpower also. Or at least it is emerging itself as a superpower, global superpower. So in international relations, we study the power, the elements of national power, and the qualities of a superpower. And we also study about international law. The laws passed by the international agencies like UNO, WTO, World Bank, International Monetary Fund, for the general welfare of the people of any country and every country in the world is called as international law. So in political science, in international relations, we also study about international law. And after that, we'll study about international organizations. There are so many organizations. There are scientific organizations, there are cultural organizations, there are political organizations, economic organizations, social organizations. So in international relations, we study about international organizations. And among these organizations, there are certain official organizations like UNO, United Nations Organization, SAARC, South Asian Association of Regional Cooperation, ASEAN, Association of Southeast Asian Nations, the Arab League, European Economic Union. So these are some of the international organizations. So in the scope of international relations, we study about the international organizations also as well. And in international relations, we study about war and peace, particularly the two important mighty world wars, the First World War and Second World War. The First World War from 1914 to 1918, and followed by the Treaty of Versailles. And there's a lull in the international interwar period, and that lull has motivated the countries to have another important war called the Second World War between 1939 to 1945. So these are the wars. And wars are again in two types. There are regional wars, local wars, and national wars and global wars. A global war is the First World War, Second World War are considered as a global war, where a good number of countries of all the continents have participated in the war. So the war is always followed by peace, with a peace treaty. So we see, we examine and we study, we acquaint ourselves with war and peace in international relations. Likewise, we also study about nationalism, colonialism, and imperialism. Nationalism, colonialism, and imperialism. These are the three important ideologies that have emanated from 17th century, 18th century, 19th century, and 20th century. So we study about nationalism. Nationalism means people's sense of belonging to their own nation. The patriotic fervor among the people is called as nationalism. And nationalism again has two important aspects. One is the positive nationalism. The second one is aggressive nationalism. But we are not concerned about aggressive nationalism. And most of the countries have positive nationalism. And colonialism. Colonialism is a system of occupying the foreign territories and using them as colonies, sometimes by giving them the dominion status and sometimes by a direct rule by the colonial power, and exploiting the economic resources of that country for the benefit of the native country. This is called as colonialism. The Britishers have established a colony in India and they have exploited the economic resources only for the benefit of their own country, that's England. So this is called colonialism. And the expansion of colonialism, the economic dimension of colonialism is called as imperialism. So we study about nationalism, colonialism, and imperialism in international relations. After that, in political science, in international relations, we study about foreign policy. A foreign policy is a policy formulated by the respective parliaments of every nation, and that denotes the nature of relations to be maintained with other nations. For example, the friendly relations, or sometimes the neutral relations, or sometimes the negative relations like animatic relations. So a foreign policy is an instrument to denote the nature of relations among the states. And in the scope of international relations, we also study about national interests. Every country has its own national interests, and every country wants to protect its national interests. And besides this, we also study about international organizations, alliances and groups, arms control, disarmament, and nuclear politics. And also in the recent past, we have the globalization, the phenomena of globalization, where the communication revolution, transport revolution, the relations in science and technology have also speeded up the process of international relations, and they have given a new face to the dynamism of international relations. So this is all about the scope of international relations. As I was telling you in the beginning, international relations is a new area with a wide scope, and it has an interdisciplinary nature, And in international relations, we study about economic concepts, political science concepts, concepts relating to sociology, law, psychology, and various other subjects. So this is all about the scope of international. Now let us see the importance of international relations. What will we get if we study about international relations? If we are the students of international relations? International relations is acquiring itself the status of an academic discipline right from 20th century onwards. And so many universities are offering international relations as a separate subject by itself, like economics, political science, history, public administration, management, and various other social sciences, biological sciences, or physical sciences. So international relations is also emerging itself as a social science. And as a student of international relations, there are certain advantages. One is, it gives us about knowledge about the continents, oceans, and countries. There are 7 continents, and 6 continents are human inhabited continents, and 1 is uninhabited continent. And likewise, we have 5 important oceans. There are 193 countries. Each country has its own capital and currency. So, in international relations, we study about continents, oceans, and countries. We'll get the primary knowledge of the globe in international relations. That's the first advantage. The second one is, a student of international relations gets awareness on global concerns. There are certain global problems like international terrorism, international environmental problems like depletion of ozone layer, or the impact of greenhouse gases. And in the recent past, we are experiencing the COVID pandemic. So these are all the global concerns. So in international relations, we see how different countries are evolving methods in dealing with these concerns. So we'll get awareness on global concerns. And also we'll have an acquaintance with the working of international organizations. How UNO works, how SAARC works, how ASEAN works, how EEC works. So these are the international organizations. We can know the patterns of their working in international relations. And in international relations, we also study about the non-state actors and cultural diversities. Basically, international relations depend on 2 types of actors. One is nation state actors, and second one is non-state actors. All the member countries of the United Nations are called as nation states. And the relations that we maintain with the neighboring countries or other countries is called as nation state actors. And there are certain other actors which have no boundaries, like terrorism, like international environmental concerns. So these are called as the non-state actors. So in international relations, we study about the formal state, nation-state actors and non-state actors also as well. We also study about the cultural diversities of different countries. So if we make a critical evaluation on international relations, it's an academic discipline, still at an evolving phase, and it has a very promising future. The international relations will definitely blossom like a complete and comprehensive academic discipline, like political science, economics, sociology, public administration, management, likewise. So it is still at an evolving phase, but it has a promising future. And second one is, international relations is a subject with interdisciplinary nature. It is confined to various subjects. It's not confined to a single subject, but it is widespread. In international relations, we study about a political economy, economic aspects, political aspects, sociological aspects, aspects relating to law, psychology, and other various subjects. This is how it has an interdisciplinary nature. And it also motivates the people and their rights, the rights of the citizens and rights of the nations, the right to self-determination, the rights of the citizens enshrined in United Nations Charter, and there are different sections of citizens who have rights that are written by United Nations, like women's rights, children's rights, rights of the workers, rights of the old age people, rights of the soldiers, rights of the disabled. So it motivates the people to know about their rights, the citizens. And also nations also have their rights. The right to have sovereignty and sovereign power, maintain national power, and maintain the territorial integrity, the right to maintain the territorial integrity, the right to protect its own sovereign power. So, and some areas within the nation have the power of right to self-determination. So these are the powers of the nations under groups. So in international relations, we study about the rights of citizens and rights of nations, and it motivates the people to know about their rights. So this is all about international relations. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you.